Okay, so looking at this drawing, you can see it's a very busy one, and it's going to be a metric drawing, so this one will be a lot bigger than some of the other drawings we have been creating before. I want you to notice, and I know it looks extremely busy, but if you break it down piece by piece, you should be able to figure out where everything goes. Okay, so let's go ahead and start creating this one. So first I'll start with a circle that has a diameter of 130. So circle center diameter, I'll place it here and give it a distance of 130. Remember that it's going to be super big, and you might not be able to see it on your screen, but if you hit the zoom extents, it should bring it back to you. Okay. Next I'll create a circle with a center diameter at this center, and its diameter is 46 degrees. Let's go ahead and create a circle with a radius at this center, and the radius of this one is at 40. Let's create a line from this center going out to this circle. Well, make it go past it. Let's go out to this circle. We see that the thickness of that line is 6, so we're going to offset half of that to each side. So let's go offset 3. And offset this line going 3 to each side. Let's go ahead and erase this center line. And then trim this portion around here. Trim off the front part, and then these inside parts. Choose Array. Select these 3 objects. Let's go from this center. And instead of 6 objects, let's tell it that we have 7. Make sure your associativity is turned off and select Close Array. Go back to Trim, and then trim the portion between each of these circles, or in between each of these lines. Okay, so next let's go ahead and locate where our next circle is at. We can see that it goes from the center of here, and it's at 18 going up, and then we have quite a few numbers to add up at the bottom. So let's let the calculator figure out some of that stuff for us. Or we can create a skeleton. In this case, I think creating a skeleton would make it a lot easier. So let's start a line. Let's go from this center point. Let's turn our ortho on. We're aiming in the right direction. I'll pull up the calculator function by typing in 'CAL. Enter. 78 plus 37 plus 43. Enter. You can see that came back with a value of 158. And then I'll go up a height of 18. Let's create our circle right at that end point. So circle center diameter. This end point, 52 is my diameter. We have a circle with a diameter of 16 on the inside. So circle center diameter at this same end point, 16. And now we have 4 circles that are going around it. They do have a boat circle around it that's at 34. So let's go ahead and create that first. Circle center diameter at this end point, 34. Next I'll put a circle at this quadrant, and it has a diameter of 8. So circle center diameter at that quadrant, it's 8. Let's choose Array. Select your circle. Enter. Let's go ahead and select this endpoint. And we're going to tell it that we have 4 of them. Okay, my associativity is turned off. Close this. Let's go ahead and get rid of our skeleton that we have here. Let's choose rotate. We can rotate all of these objects from this center 45. Now these are circles, so our quadrants are still going to stay at quadrants although we rotated these. Okay, let's go ahead and create our big arc that's going right across the top. Okay, the first thing I usually will try is a fillet, radius 180. I want that fillet to align somewhere here and land somewhere along here. You can see that AutoCAD naturally wants to make that a bow on the inside, so that just tells me that I can't use the fillet command. I have to use a circle, tangent, tangent, radius. I want that tangency somewhere along this side, and the other tangency along this side, and type in 180. Let's go ahead and trim off this portion. Then offset it a distance of 20. So offset 20. We have a couple of fillets there, so let's go to fillet, radius 12. And we'll go ahead and take care of the back half here. Let's go back to fillet, radius 10. Go ahead and take care of our front portion. Okay. So now at this point we should be ready to create the rest of our portion here. I'll create a line from this quadrant going forward a distance of 78. Now we do know how far on the x-axis to go, and we do know how far on the y-axis to go. So let's tell it that we want to go a negative 37, comma, and then we want to go up a distance of whatever the radius is, and in this case is 65. Next we want that line to run right into this circle, so just make sure you go inside of it. If everything checks out right, when I offset this line a distance of 18, it should be right in line with this center. So let's go to offset, 18, select this line, and offset it up. Let's go back and offset a distance of 20. And we're going to offset this line going up, and this one going up. Okay, the last things we need to do is go ahead and clean this up with some fillets. So let's go to the fillet command. Set my first radius to 5. And I do have multiples. I'll select this line going here to here. I have another one down here going from here to there. Okay, this one is really not labeled, so I'm going to go ahead and set this radius equal to 20, and then I have another one up here on the same type with that same radius going across it. Let's go ahead and take care of our 12s first. So fillet, radius 12. That one is located here. And it did say that we have 2 of those. I'll go ahead and put the other one on the inside here. My radius should already be adjusted to 12 since that was the last one. Okay, let's go back to fillet. Radius is going to be 8. I'll go ahead and select that fillet here. fillet, radius is 10. Sorry, it's 20. And I'm going to have multiple of these. So I'll go ahead and select this one here to the outside. And I do have this one going up on the inside. Okay, all our drafting portion is done. Let's go ahead and insert in our title block, and we're going to use annotation scale for this one. So let's use classic insert. Let's go ahead and browse. Let's use a B-size title block. Make sure everything is unchecked and hit OK. Our title block is incredibly small. Remember that what scale factors we're going to play with. So I'm going to select my title block, do a right click, Properties. I'll start off with 10. Let's zoom out a little bit. And it looks like it needs to be double that. So let's go to 20. Okay, that looks good enough to me to put it on the inside. So let's go ahead and move this. And I'll turn my ortho off to the inside. Okay, so now that I have this set on the inside of my title block, let's go ahead and adjust the annotation scale. In this case, I'll select the fly up, and I'll tell it that I'm using a 1 to 20. Now my annotation scale is set. What I need to do is do a regen to get it to update my line type scales for me. In order to do a regen, just type in RE and hit the enter button, and you're going to see that all of these line types now will adjust. So I don't have to set the line type scale in this case. The annotation scale is going to do that for me. Okay, so the next step is to deal with my center lines. So that means that I have to use the center layer command first. And then I'm going to set that value equal to center. This is a metric drawing, so I do have to deal with my center EXE, which is the extension portion. And I'll set that equal to 5. Okay, next let's go ahead and put the center marks on this. So I'll go to the word annotation, center mark, choose my circle here, and then choose this circle here in the front. Okay, I'll select this one, and I want to put it on that center layer. So I'll select in the drop down and choose the word center. Okay, now let's go ahead and adjust our dimension scale. First, let's make sure that all our dimensions be put on the right layer. So I'm just going to select the drop down and choose dimension. I'll choose this drop down here. And now I want to use the annotation scale. So I can either double click on the word annotative, or I can single click on it and then tell it to set current. You can tell here at the top of this it says current dimension style. Right now it's set to standard, but once I double click on this, it's going to turn it to the annotative. Let's go to modify. Everything else is going to act exactly the same as we've been doing with our symbols and arrows. Let's go ahead and set this to none. In the text box, let's make our text a little bit smaller. Underneath the fit option, you're going to get a change. Now this annotative is checked, which means that it's not going to look for a scale for you to come up with because you gave it a scale here at the bottom. Underneath our primary units, it's going to be decimal, but we have whole numbers. Let's go ahead and select OK, and then close. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put our diameter dimensions on. I have a 34 going here. And instead of going back up there and keep clicking, I'm just going to hit the enter button just to keep taking me back to the last command, so I can get rid of these diameter circles relatively quick. So I'll double click on this one, hit the home button on my keyboard, and then tell it I have 4 times that. Okay, so back to my diameter dimensions. Select one here. And then I have one on the inside located here. Radius dimensions are next. So let's do all of our radius. Just leave that dimension is there. One that's located here. Okay. And let's see, we have a few more that's located around here. And let's see, I think I may have them all with this one. Okay, so next let's check and make sure all of our linear dimensions are correct. Let's choose linear. Go from this point. And now I have this arc here. What I'm going to do is shift and right click and choose intersection. Select this line and then this line. And I'll place my dimension. Choose the continue option. Next I want to go to another intersection, so I'll shift and right click and choose intersection here. Select this line and then that line. Let's see, it didn't look like it took my intersection. I'll try again. So intersection between that line and the intersection with that line. That's kind of weird. For some strange reason, it's not letting me pick my second intersection. I'll try it one more time. So from the intersection between that line and this line. Okay. And if it's not giving you that, don't worry about it. I'll kind of come back to it here in a second. Okay. Let's go ahead and put our dimension between this line here and this line. Okay. So for some strange reason, this line and this line are not picking up as intersections. Let's go ahead and draw a line from that end point, and I'll turn my ortho back on, going straight across that direction. And then I'll draw a line from this end point, and I want it to be parallel to that line, so I'll shift and right click and choose parallel. Remember with the parallel command, and let's turn ortho off, is that you do not click on a line, you just touch this line, and now you'll see that I'll get the parallel off of it going this direction. Let's go ahead and trim that. Okay, next I'll go back to Annotation, Continue, and instead of continuing from that line, I'll choose the word Select, select this endpoint. Let's go to that endpoint, and then to this endpoint. Okay, we do have a few more dimensions on this, and they're more or less I think things that most of us should be able to figure out by now. Let's go ahead and do a couple of more of them. Let's do the align dimension that goes between here and here, and then just select that endpoint. It's always good practice if you select your dimension and then turn the extension lines off if they're actually running into your objects. If you do have any dimensions that are overlapping, there are some other commands that you can use. And let's see if it's actually up here. Okay, that's the dim break command. That's one of them that's kind of useful, that if I have a dimension, and hopefully I can pull this down into that direction. And with this dimension, it has an extension line on it, so I'm just going to turn that extension line to off. And this is just one of those examples, and I know I exaggerated pulling this line over. What you can use is the dim break. And what it's asking me to do is select the objects or dimension lines that I want to break. And in this case, let's go ahead and select the one that has 37, then hit enter. Now, it broke one of them, but I have two lines that are overlapping, so I'll go back to dim break. And I'm going to select this line this time, or this dimension, and then I'll hit enter. Now both of those lines are break, and now you can see that gap. So you can use that if you see things that are overlapping. Let me go ahead and straighten out this 16 dimension. Somehow it doesn't have a leader on it. Okay. Alright, so that should be all the dimensions for this one. Let's go ahead and fill in our title block. Remember, select your title block. Your attributes will be here at the bottom. This is kind of a weird shaped thing, so I'm just going to name it example. And once again, I like to typically do this in all caps. The scale for this one is 1 space colon space 20. Okay, go ahead and fill in your name and all the other stuff that you're going to need. Okay, so once again, I hope you enjoyed watching this one and learned a little bit some about the annotative scale. One other huge benefit of doing that one is also if I have single line text. So if I'm using any kind of text, and I'll use, well, let's use multi-line or single line. Let's go with single line. I don't have an annotation style set up. Well, yes I do. Choose style. And instead of using standard, I'm just going to use this question mark here. And then I'll type in a star, and this should give me a list of all the scales that I do have. So I have a standard one, and I have one that's set to annotative. Okay. Let's go ahead and make our annotative one the one active. So go back to the home button, choose annotation, and then underneath our text style, select the drop down. Now choose the one that says annotative. Okay, now if I want to put some text on a drawing, and I'll use single line text, I'll pick my start point as normal. You'll see that the text will change and it says specify paper height. With this, you don't have to do any of the multiplication that we did before. Just type in whatever text height you want it to be. In this case, 0.125. Hit the enter button, and one more enter. And now it's starting to type, and it's going to come in as the same size text as this. So I don't have to do the 0.125 and multiply it by the scale in this case. The annotative option will take care of that for me. Okay? Just one of those little things I wanted to add to this video, and I don't think that there's anything else that I'm thinking of out of the top of my head, but the annotative scale does have a huge benefit over using just regular manual stuff. Okay? So once again, I want to know this video is going a little longer than what I planned on it, but I want to thank you for watching and sticking with me, and definitely we'll see you in the next one.